Now there is a breaking news. I would like to convey it first. An announcement was made by the Israeli army. A new wave of attacks was launched. We are projecting the images on your screens live right now. On the one hand, there is an important call to take shelter. There was a call to go down to the shelters immediately. These attacks were already going on continuously. Now a new wave of attacks has been launched from Iran. A new wave of attacks on Israel has been launched. Of course, what will be the repercussions of this? On the one hand, there are the statements made. On the other hand, there is the table that is being set up. We have just quoted earlier, a table is being set up in Geneva. Will there be a result from that table? If a result can come out of that table, will the United States call on Netanyahu? Will it say stop? Will Netanyahu heed this call? Now we're going to hear from Iran. A new wave of attacks on Israel has begun. The Israeli army announced it. It announced the start of a new wave of attacks and called on people to go to shelters and close the doors. You will recall that Iran has already realized the first retaliation. Because you know, first of all, this issue was initiated by Israel. Israel fired first and Iran responded in terms of self-defense. It didn't wait long, it responded, and then some points in Tel Aviv were hit. Israel panicked after these points were hit because we didn't really expect it. They did not expect such a quick response. After the damage they suffered, statements and calls were made one after another. There were calls that they are shooting children, they are shooting civilians, they are shooting our buildings, and they immediately called for the international community to step in. But when you actually look at it, Israel was the first to initiate this move. We need to underline this in particular. There was a response from Iran. I mean, Iran did not just out of the blue, did not retaliate. Now, at this point, we see that these attacks are continuing. We state that a new wave of attacks has been launched from Iran against Israel. The Israeli army has already announced it. And around 5 o'clock, and most recently, the Israeli army, Iran had issued evacuation orders for the cities of Iraq and Honbat. Let's express that too. But as of this hour, we are seeing a wave of attacks from Iran on Israel. Iran is retaliating right now and continues its attacks. When we look at the statements, we have already seen harsh statements. It was said by Iran that this issue will not stop until Iran ends its attacks. It was said by Iran that it will not stop until Israel ends its attacks. You will remember that Iran said that it will not accept either peace or war imposed by force. Naturally, it was emphasized that Israel was the one who should stop here. It was emphasized that it was Israel that took the first step. For this reason, if Israel, that he could go to a meeting at the White House in Iran if he stopped. Because Donald Trump had claimed that Iranian officials wanted to come to the White House for talks, but Tehran denied these claims. Now, the images of the attack are reflected on your screens. As the day is getting brighter, attacks are taking place from the Iranian side. Yes, the retaliation is starting. You're hearing the sirens now. You hear the sirens already from the Israeli side. A statement was made about closing the doors on going to the shelter. Announcements was built. Now you hear those sirens in Tel Aviv. The whole world is worried, of course. Statements on this issue are coming one after the other. There's a lot of talk about what might be in the interest of both sides. Solutions can be found. The recent statement by Russian President Putin was particularly important at this point. Both Iran and Israel, that there are solutions that can protect their interests. But at the last point, he said that these attacks are still continuing. We see Iranian army made the announcement. It was announced that an attack has now begun from Iran towards Israel. A wave of attacks has begun. Yes, after this attack, of course, Israel's response is being wondered. What will Israel do? Especially on the Iranian side in terms of ammunition. That different munitions will be used and briefed them. Now, these violent attacks on the Tehran-Tel Aviv line, and it's now in its 7th day, and on the 7th day, there is still no solution. And these attacks continue on the 7th day. Emergency alerts have been sent to Israeli cell phones. On the one hand, sirens are sounding. On the one hand, there is a call to go to the shelters and close the doors. And Israel has started the day, wakes up to bombs. Tel Aviv wakes up to missiles. Sunrise today in Tel Aviv is being met with bombs. New attack by Iran as soon as the wave was launched. So where will the address of peace be? Will a solution be found at the tables? Do they want to seek a solution? You will remember the statements made by Donald Trump. They were a bit strange statements. Let's remember those statements again. Trump said that he had ideas on what to do about Iran. He said he had not yet reached a final decision on Iran, and he said, I have ideas about Iran, but I make my decisions at the last minute. Now, what will be his last-minute decision for Iran? This is curious. United States of America directly to this job? Will it participate? If the United States is directly involved, what awaits the Middle East? How can Iran respond, or can it respond? Or at the table that will be set up, the table that will be set up in Geneva, as we have already mentioned. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will meet with the foreign ministers of Germany, France, and Britain. A table will be set there. A table will be set up in Geneva. Nuclear talks will be held. Nuclear talks. But of course, there are questions about whether there will be a result or not. Now we have given details about this attack. Sirens sounded, we heard it. The day was brightened by bombs in Tel Aviv. At the same time, there were calls to take shelter. Now I would like to turn to my guest. We were with Dr. Yusuf Bahadur Keskin. We were with Dr. Yusuf Bahadur Keskin. Mr. Keskin, this is how Tel Aviv woke up. On the one hand, we were talking about the table. Will the nuclear deal go through or not? If it does, the United States, will he call on Israel to stop the attacks? Now, you have actually made an assessment about how Israel can be stopped and how it can be stopped. But I want to ask you this. If the United States makes a call for Israel to stop, would Israel listen to this, or would it continue in terms of achieving its ultimate goal? Israel said, I'm going to take Ford's nuclear facility. This won't be over until we destroy it. What do you think? Will he continue to take steps in this direction? If he doesn't listen to the United States, and if there is a positive outcome on the table in terms of a deal, would he not listen to the United States? Or no? The call of the United States of America. Will Israel take a step to listen and be reasonable? Thank you for watching.
Now, Ms. Sinem, let me continue with the recent history. After this agreement in 2015, there was an agreement with the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council plus Germany. This agreement was broken 3 years after it was signed. The reason for the breakdown is that Trump withdrew from this agreement after he was elected president in the United States. Now, in fact, if the issue was the acceptance of a nuclear technology that could not produce nuclear weapons, this agreement could have been carried out at that time. After the US withdrew from the deal and this deal was broken, Iran continued its enrichment activities there. You actually expressed it very well. Iran's nuclear activities here, it can be argued that it has evolved into an inconvenient violation of international law. Because a few hours before the attack, the International Atomic Energy Agency had passed a resolution in which it voted that Iran had failed to comply with the rules. But here is the reality. If there is to be an intervention, there are two countries in the world that have no right to do so. One is North Korea and the other is Israel. Israel carried out this attack. I say why it has no right. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. There is an actor who is not a party to the NPT, Israel. Israel is an actor that has acquired nuclear weapons. Israel is an actor that has largely disregarded international law. And even though it wants to disguise this attack as the famous preventive defense, in fact, this attack has no international legitimacy. Because there is no evidence that Iran has acquired nuclear weapons or is close to acquiring nuclear weapons. Yes, Iran acquiring nuclear weapons is not a positive development for Turkey either.